Focus. Focus up. I'm talking to you, Dave Bradley, out in Ohio via New Zealand and all those other places you were for soccer. Welcome to episode 40 of the Rubio Method. My name is Chris Rubio. We've got a great episode for you today. We've got the intro segment. You're in it currently right now. Then we're going to do Minute with Monahan. I'm going to answer some email questions. We're going to have a visit from the doc. Then we're going to have a great interview with Joe Colavito, one of those. I don't know. I can't, me names. And then we're going to wrap it up with the bottom line segment. So what is I always say on store when it's in store. Christian, you got to figure that out. So what's in store for episode 40 of the Rubio Method? Ways to de-escalate someone in crisis. That's got to be the Minute with Monahan. Losing a friend. Yeah, it's going to be a little somber here for a while. Spring break at UCLA. Good times. An unexpected thing in my home. You're going to love this part. A tremendous meal. Always good to talk about food. Traveling around the country. Also good. Being a professional athlete. Raise some good money. Getting ahead of a terrible thing. All of that and much, much more on today's episode 40 of the Rubio Method. Christian, I'm out. Focus up. I'm talking to you, Terry Sadler, all the way out in South Africa. When you hear this, it'll already be tomorrow. We got to work on some sort of gambling. Maybe you can tell me about the day above this, ahead of the Super Bowl. I don't know how the time thing works. Anyway, thanks for watching on NGBN, The Rubio Method, Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Google, and Amazon. And as always, if you have any questions for myself or the guest or Monahan, you can email rubio@therubiomethod.com. Let's start off this segment with a Minute with Monahan.
Hey, how's it going? Another awesome Minute with Monahan. As always today, we are talking about something that can be really crucial in saving someone's life or protecting your own or others. And that's 4 steps to proper de-escalation. First and foremost, if anybody that you've seen or know is in crisis, first, always make sure if it's an emergency, call 911 and get professionals on it. But if it's working with someone who's having a rough day, they're kind of lashing out or what have you, and everyone is safe in the room, here are a few steps, or these are steps you could take when 911 is on the way. So here we go. Number 1 is be empathetic no matter what, right? If someone's in crisis, if someone's really hurting, whether you believe it to be an issue or not, be empathetic to the cause. Because the last thing you want to do is stonewall somebody and then they get more upset and then it just becomes a nightmare. Number 2 is to take your time. There's no real reason to rush de-escalation or rush a de-escalating situation. Take your time, talk through with them, and be empathetic. And while you're talking through with them, this leads to number 3 is listen, right? Again, no matter if you think it is an actual threat or you think the situation that they're in is actually something to be concerned about, to them it is. So in this situation, you want to make sure that you're actually listening. And number 4 is try and get them to agree on any type of ways to drop the threat level or drop the the emergency level of the room. Certainly those 2 terms that I said are very talking in very layman's terms. But what I mean by that is try and get them to agree to, if there's a situation where they're talking about harming themselves, try and get them to agree to maybe move to another room or move away from whatever it is that they're talking about harming themselves with, or whatever it is, any type of situation like that, or get them to walk outside if they're not really actively trying to harm themselves or anyone around them. Just try and get them to go outside and take a deep breath and say, hey, would you agree that we can step out of this room, or would you agree that we can just take a deep breath here and just kind of take a few steps back, or would you agree to count to 10 with me? Things like that. And those I found have been really helpful in de-escalation. Certainly you can do, people have done theses about de-escalation. So I certainly want to give my disclaimer that that's the top 4 things to do really quickly if you find yourself in a situation where de-escalation is necessary. But also certainly too, it is a huge topic with a lot of depth to it. and a lot of nuances. So, and of course, as always, if there is a threat or anything of that nature, call 911. Even if you suspect or if you don't believe it to be that crazy or what have you, call 911, get the authorities on it, and in those steps, take or in that time, take those 4 steps.
All right, number one, I know Monahan's full high tower right now, and he's in the police academy. But was that some sort of hostage crisis room, Christian? I'm not sure what's going on there. Number two, when he's not in studio and we're not doing these live, we got to really yell at him about minute with the Monahan, not minutes with Monahan. On that note, it was great. I loved it. Number one, be empathetic. Number two, take your time. Number three, listen for get them to agree to drop the threat level. So that was a great minute with Monahan. All right, now, so we've got email questions coming into yours truly. Remember, you can email me, Rubio at therubiomethod.com. That's Rubio at therubiomethod.com. Here we go. Number one, Rubio, I saw your post about your friend, and I just wanted to say I'm very sorry and to check on how you're doing. This is from Leroy in San Antonio, Texas. Yes, for those that do not know, I recently had a good friend of about 17 years take his own life. And it was a pretty somber moment for me, as you can obviously imagine. There was no signs of it. From what I knew, I texted him about 7 to 10 times per day over the past year and a half. I spoke to him on the phone about 3 to 4 times per week. We had a great thing. He was on my other show, Decades, Jim Gingrich, RIP. Very sad, very angry that he didn't feel that there was anyone out there that he could have spoken to. So obviously, if you have any issues on this note, make sure you want to call 911 or I think 988 or heck, even email me and I'll get back to you. This is never the moment. It's one of those things that I'm doing a lot better now. I'm still about 1% sad, 99% angry. So, on that note, if you have anyone that you think anywhere possibly could be thinking about this, just send them a note, send them a phone call, a video, just something, just to show them that you care, that there is another way out. And you don't have to say, "Hey, jump, don't get off the get off the ledge." It's just, "Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on?" All right, so thanks for that, Leroy. Number two from Frankie in Boston, Massachusetts. Boston, phenomenal town. A lot of walking, but great. And if you love history, that is a town for you. And also have some good, what is it, Boston cream pie. Very tasty. All right. Do you have any funny spring break stories from your time at UCLA? Oh my God, yes. I have many spring break stories that are funny at UCLA. I'll tell you one of them. There was Lake Havasu, which was about 4 hours away from UCLA. UCLA is University of California, Los Angeles. And so it's in Los Angeles. Lake Havasu is right on the border of, I think it's California and Arizona. Christian, can you fact check that for me? And it's Parker River, and then you have Lake Havasu. Really phenomenal. Big, used to be a huge spring break place for college kids because it was super cheap. I think 5 of us football players went there and stayed in a tent for like $8 a night, and no one would ever stay in a tent because it's literally at night gets to about 100 degrees, and during the day it's like 125. No joke about that. So I go with my good buddy. I won't say his name, but we go to this all you could eat breakfast place. Okay, we were big chubby guys, we'll say chubby, football players, and we needed to have, poor in college, everyone's poor. So we go to this all you can eat breakfast place, and he has this monster sombrero. I mean, this kid was 6'6", 350 pounds, and he still has this monster sombrero. So he barely fits in the door. Okay, we eat our food, and we're eating to the point of blacking out because we have to eat the entire time because this is our meal for the day. We don't have another $8. We go to, I go to the bathroom, I come back out, and this guy's standing up straight, stiff as a board, and his hat's on, and he goes, "All right, let's go." And I go, "I'm not done." And he goes, let's go. And I go, "Okay, what's the deal?" And then I look up, and he's got a sausage link hanging out the sombrero of his hat or whatever that part is. And I go, "What the hell are you doing?" And he bends down just a little like this, and I can see he's literally filled it with pancakes, waffles, French toast, and sausages. He goes, "This is for later. Let's go." And so he can't limbo. He's got to just like kneel out like this to get out. But we ended up getting out with probably another $50 worth of food, and we fed ourselves for the last probably another day at that point. So that's my spring break story for you, Frankie. I hope you enjoyed it. Last question from Brian in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Coeur d'Alene, shout out, about 90 minutes north of me. Nice little town. Don't visit. It's terrible. Rubio, what is your one thing you own that you never thought you would? Oh, this is embarrassing / I don't care because I don't have any guilty pleasures. I had a buddy come over, shout out to Kenny Gingras, and he goes, "Hey, I want to use your bathroom." I said, "Thanks for telling me that." He goes, "You don't have a bidet." I go, no, man, I'm not in France. I don't have a bidet. I would never use a bidet. He goes, you've never used a bidet? I said, no, man, I've never used a bidet. And I don't even like the fact that we're talking about bidets right now. He goes, hold on. He gets on his phone, goes to Amazon. He goes, what's your address? I said, okay, blah, 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 blah. Boom. He goes, you'll have one in 2 days. I go, I'm not using a bidet, man. He goes, trust me on this. It's like mouthwash for your butthole. And I go, oh, okay. And so sure as hell, I go, you know me, I'm not technical at all. He says, I'll come and put it in for you. I said, fantastic, because I'm not doing it, nor do I know how to do it. So anyway, this bidet comes in 2 days, and sure as hell, Kenny comes in 2.5 days. He installs it, and I'm just going to say, bidets are fantastic. If you've never used a bidet, I highly recommend it. It is unbelievable. It is like mouthwash for your butthole. I'm not sure how they work. Oh, I know how they work, but I'm not exactly sure how the aiming process works. I just know they are fantastic. That's all I'm going to say about that. On that note, we're coming back for the interview segment with Joe Colavito, and then we're going to finish up with the bottom line. Christian, I'm out.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text to emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
Focus up. I'm talking to you, teachers of the world. You pretty much all have started school back up, and I know how hard your job is. I was a teacher for 8 years, and you guys are doing a great job. Yes, you should be paid way, way more. Welcome back to episode 40 of the Rubio Method. Keep sharing on the NGBN.TV network, the RubioMethod.com, Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and even Rumble. And if you have any questions, you can always email Rubio@theRubioMethod.com. We've got a great interview with Joe Colavito coming up. But before that, we've got a visit from my favorite Irishman. Actually, he's the only Irishman I know, I think. Doc Hogan. What do we got?
Rubio, did you know that as it stands, dementia is crippling our population in the world? And by 2050, the amount of dementia will have trebled to what it is right now. But the University College in London have done this huge big research, and they've realized that if we socialize people from middle age to old age, more so than what we're doing right now, it will help them cut the amount of dementia by 30 to 50%. So they're talking about putting it into public policy soon. Believe it or not.
I believe it 1,000%. So bottom line, if you've got some older family members, start socializing them now. I know they always say that Sudoku. I can't do that because I'm terrible with numbers. I'm not like Good Will Hunting or anything, or even crosswords. Just get them out of the house, start talking to them. Joe Colavito, we're going to talk about that and a lot more. Who is Joe Colavito? He's the Chief People Officer of Life Purpose Scan. We're going to talk a lot about that. He's married to his wife, Debbie, for 34 years. Congratulations. 5 kids and 2 grandkids, 30 years of leadership experience. Fantastic. He's got a passion for helping others run with a purpose at every step. I love that. Loves hearing people's stories and helping them experience life's full capacity. What's up, Joe?
Hey, thanks for having me on. I just wish I had worn my yellow sweatshirt so we could be matching brothers today.
That would, yeah, you would just be like, would it be like a before and after copper tone ad? Because I'm just, about 9 shades darker than you, but you got you shave your hair. Yeah, you got a little hair up there and you got the goatee. So yeah, we'll just be before and after, but we'll have to just experience that. Maybe Christian can do some Photoshop or something. I don't know what he does back there. All right, Joe, I got some quick hitters for you. Number 1, what is the best meal you have ever had and why?
Yeah, that's easy. Homemade chicken cutlets with mashed potatoes with flavored sour cream baked on top.
Okay, stop at the flavored sour cream. Flavored with what?
Onion, garlic, things like that. And it's layered on top, and then you bake it so it gets a little bit brown on top of it. It's got Parmesan cheese. It's the real deal.
Well, you can't go wrong with anything that's got a little crust to it. And you throw a Parmesan cheese on it. And in my old age, I'm starting to like things that are getting a little burnt on the edges. I don't know if that's weird or what, if that's an age thing, but like even lasagna, I want like the crusty outer parts. I've been that way for brownies for a while. So that maybe, I don't know, Christian, you might want to look that up too. Joe, the next one. Where's one place in North America that you want to visit but haven't?
Oh, great question. I've been fortunate to be in 48 of the 50 states,
Oh, Jesus.
but I have not spent any time in Maine, and I really want to get up there and kind of see the coast of Maine during the summer.
What's the other state that you haven't visited?
Alaska.
Oh, those are two. You have to visit those two. I mean, 48. My God, you're right there. You have to make that happen. Last question. If you could play any sport professionally, what would it be and why?
I would have loved to have played professional basketball at 5'6", just because.
Yeah, I don't think that at 5'6", what was Spud Webb? Was he 5'3", or was that Muggsy Bogues, Christian? Or 5'8" or 5'3"? One of them was the other. I can't remember. But yeah, a 5'3".
I went to camp. Yeah, I don't want to derail us, but I went to camp with Calvin Murphy back when I was 12 to 15 years old. And he gave me everything I would need to know to be able to get there. The problem was I graduated high school at 5'2", 125, so pretty much the dream ended.
Oh no! Well, yeah, that is. I mean, that's tiny. But you are not the shortest guest I've ever had on here. Shout out to Sub 60 Ed on Decades. Spud Webb was 5'6". Thank you, Christian. Joe Colavito, you and I met on some weird circumstances. Okay. You contacted me after you read my post about my good friend Jim Gingrich, who we just spoke about, and we immediately started talking about, okay, why are you contacting me? Because it was, okay, I understand you've gone through this. I feel bad for you. And I'm like, I don't even know this guy, but very nice sentiment. And then we started talking about life purpose scan. What is life purpose scan?
Yeah. So, every one of us wants to be able to answer the question, will the people that I love and lead every day make good decisions when I'm not around? And so we built a tool to be able to answer that question.
Okay. And what is that tool? What does it do? Because when you told me this, I was like, what is, how?
Yeah. So we're blessed to have an amazing team. John Brunstetter is 78 years young. He's been building tools for over 40 years. So I shared a vision I had with him of trying to draw people's self-talk out and put it into insights and discovery questions so we could get past outward appearance and performance and attendance, things that don't really matter, but we think show us that somebody's okay, and actually get to what's going on in their head and their heart. And so we've been able to do that. It's validated, and we could not be more excited to take that into the marketplace.
Okay. And take what into the marketplace? What is life purpose scan?
Yeah, it is an online experience where in 6 to 8 minutes, a kid can literally answer things on their phone. And we as adults get a report that show us their decision-making capacity. So self-awareness, future planning capacity, influence, support, and capacity. So I can tell you out of 200 kids, this one's got the strongest decision-making capacity, and this one's number 200, so that we can allocate resources within a school to make sure we're giving them more support.
In 6 to 8 minutes, did you say?
Yeah, I didn't, this God gave us this idea. We just tried not to mess it up, and we put it into practice. And when we got the validation on it on May 14th, we were humbled and just blown away. But yeah, we can do it, and we have been doing it. And we just can't wait to get it in parents and teachers' hands.
And can you give us an example of just one of the questions?
I could. There's 88 of them, so let me see if I can get one that's reasonable.
88 questions in 6 minutes. It's got to be quick hitter questions.
It is. They're just sliding on a scale of strongly disagree to strongly agree, and it's 0 to 11 scale. It gives us a lot of latitude for algorithms. But an example question would be, I have more energy than I need in any given day. And you answer that on strongly agree or strongly disagree.
Okay. And so Adam, say you've got a senior class of seniors in high school, and there's 350 kids. So you're looking at number one, this kid is super driven to, let's say, 175. That's the middle. I think I don't do numbers. They're in the middle. They can go either way, but you got 300 to 350. These are kind of the code reds, and parents, teachers, guidance counselors, you kind of want to keep an eye on Johnny and Jane from 3 to 350, because we could have some issues here.
Actually, it's broader than that. So I can show you that there's not one kid in that school who doesn't need more support.
Mm.
So we can take the top of the top because we've done it at a high school, and basically they've got straight A's. They're playing 3 sports. They're going to play D1 sports. The whole world thinks this kid's got it on a string. And I can show you that they don't want any more influence from their parents. They won't ask for support when they need it. And their current resilience tank is running on low. They still score in the upper quadrant, but they've got needs, and they're not going to talk to you about them.
Wow. So yeah, and everyone needs to realize that if you're watching this, if you're a kid or an adult or senior citizen or not toddlers wouldn't be watching this, it's okay to ask for help. I've said this 1,000 times. No one knows everything. How many times have you heard me just in today's episode say, Christian, can you double check that for me? Just because I don't know where the Colorado River was or Lake Havasu, what border. Spud Webby tells me is 5'6". Okay, it's okay to realize that you don't know everything. Okay, that's why I'm talking to Joe Colavito right now from Life Purpose Scan. So how did you come up with this? How did you get involved in this process?
Yeah, so the best things in life are typically invitation by interruption. And so, without going too far into the details, we had 5 kids in our sphere of influence when we were in Atlanta that took their lives. And I never thought that would happen to any of my 5 kids. And 2 of my 5 kids tried to take their life, which put me on a personal mission to figure out how could I not see that coming? Because if you interview Jim's family, you're his friend, everyone is going to say the same thing. Yeah, we never saw that coming.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to be able to see inside their heads and hearts. So we'll be able to go upstream, right, to see that it could be coming. And you, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Wow. Yeah, you just brought up, you said a word that you wrote down a quote in your pre-questionnaire. Stop pulling people out of rivers and go upstream to see why they're falling in. I love that. And I'm a quote guy. I've never heard that. Did you make that up yourself or did you hear that from someone?
No, that is Desmond Tutu. I think he passed away in the late 1800s. And he said, there comes a point where we have to just stop pulling people out of the stream, the river, and we have to go upstream to figure out why they're falling in. So here's why they're falling in. The little bad decisions they're making go undetected. And one little bad decision leads to another bad decision. So I skip class, then I skip a quiz, then I'm out behind the school smoking pot. And the next thing you know, I'm in a car with a kid I shouldn't be with who gets a DUI and smacks into somebody. I'm in the hospital.
So, okay. You had to do this with 2 of your own kids. Then you obviously became a man on a mission. This is to me is unbelievable. Like how are you pushing this? How is this not available for everyone? Are we at that stage right now? Like this seems like an absolute zero brainer, no brainer at all. Like, oh my God, this is going to take you 6 minutes. You can't make a Pop-Tart in 6 minutes. All right. But this can save your life, save your kid's life.
It's a great question. So we've been grinding for 14 months to get it right, to get it validated, to get the reports to support it. We are there. So this could be available to any school or church that wants to check on their, middle school and high school kids. And we actually just launched the Life Purpose Scan Career, which any leader in an organization that wants to check on their people. So you've been hearing this for a long time, right? Disengagement, burnout, and turnover. Everybody's been trying to attack that for over 20 years, and they've continued to increase. Here's why. They're related to individuals' decision-making capacity, not these anonymous surveys we run on engagement and 360s on our leaders. You got to get to the individual person and figure out what's going on in their head and heart, or you're not going to turn anything around.
Okay, so now that's a great point, by the way. Does Life Purpose Scan have, okay, you're going to give these people this test. Then what's the next step? So the teacher, the principal says, okay, I've just noticed my valedictorian, he's a stud, or she's a stud, but we're not able to, they need some help. What happens then? Do you have a team of psychologists, psychiatrists?
Yeah. So thank you for asking it that way. Everyone knows that there is a demand for professional licensed counseling services that far outstrips supply. And so one of our main motives of our mission is enough is enough. We've got to be able to train normal street people like you and I that have a heart and ears, right? And then we give them a report that says, hey, here's where this kid's at. It's not a conclusion. It's a conversation jump starter. So here is where they're at. Here's some questions you could ask them. And by the way, don't try to solve anything. They just need somebody alongside them right now that can listen. And so the kid gets an immediate discovery guide. So it's got 15 bullet points they can read about themselves. And the last thing says, hey, take this to an adult that you believe could help you work through some of this. And then we give the report to the adult and say, hey, go get the kid because they need your help. And then we'll do training around how do they do. So we could train teachers, coaches, pastors, grandparents is the newest one we're on to. There's a whole bunch of qualified grandparents out there that have been very successful. Why don't we train them how to come alongside middle school and high school kids? And they can do that anonymously, right? So, hey, you want help from a grandparent that's been qualified? Go ahead and hit this number, and grandparent answers the phone and says, hi, my name's, Granny Sue. How can I help you?
Well, and that's two birds with one stone. After we heard from Doc Hogan, out my Irishman friend, where that gets older people socialized. So we're just solving the world's problems right now. Okay, but how do we go about changing the attitude of men being able to open up themselves more? Because I think as dudes, this show's about middle-aged, guys, mental health and all that stuff. But even going back to say that 18-year-old stud athlete who plays 3 sports, he's a valedictorian, he's a good looking kid, whatever, he's got issues as well. How do we get that kid to open up and say, hey, I need some attention, I need some help?
Yeah, the first thing is every leader who appears to be strong and appears to be successful needs to share what really goes on in their head and heart. Like, we got to quit pretending that we're okay if we want them to stop pretending that they're okay. So number one is keep making people aware of the way you are through the Rubio method and other things you're doing. Number two is just start looking around. Last night I started reading this amazing book by John Gordon. You've heard of him before, with the Energy Bus and a number of bestsellers. You won't even believe where this thing starts. I mean, I was just like, yep, this book is going to get finished, and it's going to get finished quickly. In 8th grade, I told my mom I was depressed and thought about killing myself. She started screaming, what do you mean you want to kill yourself? Why would you say that? She freaked out so much that I somehow snapped out of it to calm her down. I said, Mom, it's okay. I'll be fine. And we never talked about it again. It's probably why 40 years later, I'm good at suppressing my emotions, and why my brother says he eats his feelings.
Wow.
When a guy like this comes out and explains that he has struggled and still suppresses emotions, maybe we can start to get people to come awake to enough is enough. It's time to speak up. It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, and it's the whole social media generation too, where everyone puts everything on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter, or X, or whatever the hell they call it now, and just everyone sees, oh, that Johnny's on this great vacation. Yeah, you don't understand how much Johnny had to grind, or how many times Photoshop had to be done to that.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices.
Like your text to emoji ratio.
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Greg, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Focus up. I'm talking to you, Brian Jodis, out in North Carolina. Make sure you guys check out his Pick Up the Six production podcast. He does a great job, and he's really hustling right now with all the NGBN.TV network stuff that he's doing. Shout out to Brian Jodis. Welcome back to episode 40 of the Rubio Method. My name is obviously Chris Rubio. Thanks for sharing on NGBN.TV, therubiomethod.com, Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Rumble, and also, if you have any questions, you can always email rubio@therubiomethod.com. That was a very interesting, and I don't want to say fun, but intriguing interview with Joe Colavito. I could say fun too, because we had some good times, but that product is just amazing. So make sure you check it out, lifepurposescan.com. If you can save one person, that'll do a lot. So let's get to the bottom line. The bottom line for all you new listeners and watchers is all the stuff you should have learned. Be empathetic. Listen, take your time, and drop the threat level. This is right out of the Minute with Monahan. Be empathetic. Listen to them. Take your time. Drop the threat level. Those are pretty self-explanatory, so I don't need to get into them anymore. Number 2, Sometimes a wire is just faulty. This goes back to my good buddy Jim Gingrich. The way I explain it to myself is kind of like a wire can go off in a house and just trip something and burn down the house. I kind of think that's what happened with Jim. Just there was one wire in there that just went wrong and it just burnt down his life to the end. So that's how I'm going to think about it. Sometimes a wire is just faulty. So make sure, yet again, keep checking on everyone. And number 3, solve the problems before they become problems. That great quote that Joe said from Desmond Tutu, who just died a couple years ago, not 1800s. I think Joe just got a little bit nervous. Christian, of course, pointed that out to me because I don't know it all. Solve the problems before they become problems. The quote was something about, instead of just picking them up out of the river, go upstream and see why the hell are they keep falling in. Let's figure out why so we don't have to keep picking them up out of the river. This is a great episode, Christian. You did a phenomenal job as always. At some point, we're going to get you on screen because the people have been asking, is Christian a real human being? So we're going to get you on here. I may interview you, Christian. That'll be fun. But once again, I'm getting all disgruntled right now. Keep checking out ngbn.tv, therubiomethod.com, Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and make sure you go and talk to someone, make their life a little bit better today. Christian, I'm out.